Okay, so this week has been pretty full on, I think, for most of us. Um, I certainly have felt it as an interesting week in the sense that I felt pretty unbalanced and ungrounded, and as a result, quite floaty. But at the same time, I've been very able to focus on tasks and things that are that I need to get done. So it's kind of weird. And so as a result of that, I've gotten quite a lot done, but at the same time, I've missed appointments and left my phone in weird places, and have kind of felt a little bit out there, which was, I think, what was mentioned last weekend in our webinar, about the need to be grounded. Well, it was a real need, and I can't say that I focused too much on it. I didn't notice how ungrounded I was until I'd messed up an appointment and left my phone somewhere. So I've been trying over the last few days to really be present and here, and trying, as I said last weekend, to do some physical exercise so that I can be physically present in my body. And at the moment, we've got some massive fires on our mountain. So the energy is really intense here. It's about 30 degrees, which is unusual for this time of year. And we've got wind and this massive fire that has already burnt down a couple of key what are they called, monuments in Cape Town that sit on the mountain, and it's hit our university, which has been evacuated. So it's quite intense here, and you can actually feel this pressure. Yeah, so I've done a bit of work this afternoon to try and help to alleviate some of that stuff. It is on Table Mountain, which is, as some of you probably know, one of the key points in the energetic grids of the world. And so it's interesting that it is burning at this particular time. So if you can all hold Cape Town in your prayers, and particularly Table Mountain, as it is home to many, many, many animals. And we've got some beautiful forests that are around here, and I'm praying that they don't get hit by this fire. We had a couple of, about 5 years ago, we had a fire that literally raged for about 10 days right around the peninsula, and it burnt practically all the forest. So it's just started to recover from that, and now we've got this fire. So if you can keep it in your prayers, that would be great. Okay, so I've had a feel into the energies for this week, and currently there's a real need within the collective for us to balance the internal world and the external world. It is quite a dramatic time, and as a result, we are actively being called to balance the feminine and the masculine energies within us. So if we look at those energies as the feminine being the internal, the masculine being the external, we have an opportunity, if we focus on those, on bringing those two into balance, to take action on the ideas and thoughts and inspirations that we're currently receiving. I spoke to a friend yesterday, and she's had a brilliant idea for another aspect of her business, which she wants to start. And she called it an ascension, oh no, I've gone blank. An ascension inspiration, or something like that. She said it definitely is, she's been feeling a lot more inspiration and a lot more confident in the insights and ideas that are coming to her. And I've certainly felt that as well. I'm feeling less concerned about where things are going and more concerned about what I am doing here and now, which I think is quite relevant, because we don't know where we're going. We've never been to the future that we are building and creating. We've never been there before. So we are moving into this new space, and we cannot actually predict how it's going to be, what it's going to be look like, and what we're going to be doing in it. So there is the sense of just letting that idea of needing to control the outcome of things, letting those thoughts go, to surrender into what will be, and trust in ourselves in this moment, that we know the steps that we need to take now, not the steps that we need to take in a month's time or a week's time or a year's time, the steps that we need to take for today. And there's another thing that I've noticed, not necessarily with the clients that I've been working with this week, but just something that I've noticed kind of collectively with people that I connect with on a day-to-day basis, that there is a feeling of not wanting to take action because we don't know where we're going, we don't know where we're going to be. So there is this uncertainty of I'll just stay where I am right now and wait for things to go back to normal. Normal does not exist anymore. We're not going to be going back to normal. We are going into a new space with an entire new way of living and being. So to wait until things settle and we know what is happening in the world is a little naive and a little bit silly, because it's not going to go back to normal. We're not going to know where we're going and how things are going to unfold. So we do need to focus on where we are today. And as a result of this feeling of waiting for things to go back to normal, there is some resistance in the collective to moving forward. So that resistance can actually manifest within us as well, because we, as part of the collective, we feel these things and we process these things alongside the greater awareness that we are tapping into and awakening to. So be mindful of the resistance and the feelings of stuckness that may be coming up for you, because it is important that we shift that within ourselves and therefore shift that within the consciousness. So if you are feeling resistance to anything new, you need to actively push through that. In order for there to be real shifts and changes in our lives and a real tangible feeling of the new, we need to push through that within ourselves that doesn't want to. And when I work energetically with people, there are levels and layers that we work through. So we have an energetic body, we have a mental body, we have an emotional body, and we have a physical body. And on an energetic level, you can create all the shifts and changes you like on those other bodies. But if you do not activate them within the physical body by actively taking physical action, no real shift will happen. That shift will just stay as an energetic shift. So if there is resistance, you've got to push through it. You have to force yourself beyond those fears that come up, the uncertainty that may come up, the fear of doing something wrong or not making the right choice or not making the right decision. You've got to push through that. And a lot of people, certainly people that I've been working with for many, many years, have done an incredible amount of work on an emotional level, on a mental level, and on a spiritual level. That work now needs to be brought into the physical. We can't keep accessing outside of ourselves. And I had a conversation with someone yesterday in a session around this word ascension. And it's not a word that I use. I don't really like that word, because ascension can mean, some people take it as meaning we're rising out of something, we're ascending, we're leaving this place behind and we're ascending to somewhere else. We're not. The fact is we are birthing the new reality or the new earth within this reality, within this world. We expand that into the world with every action that we take. So we need to be very conscious of the fact that the action is required, that we need to do things physically in order to manifest what it is or birth what it is that we need to do. For anyone that has had children, birth is a very physical experience, and it engages every part of you in order to bring this life through you and out into the world. And that is what is required of us. We are to harness all aspects of ourselves to be able to bring the new into this world and into this reality. We're changing the world from the inside out. And so it doesn't mean leaving or ascending to somewhere else. It means being present and being here and being in your body and in this physical reality. If we're going to change the systems that exist in the world today, we need to do it physically. We can't think them into manifestation. We have to act them into manifestation. So I think that it's important that this is something that you are mindful of, especially this week as we move into the next few days, next 8 days, I think it is, of this Mayan, of these Mayan energies that are triggering quite a lot of stuff. The one thing I felt for this next week is that the energies will focus on the power that we have to initiate a life that is guided and directed by our hearts. So as a result of that, our hearts will be opened. So events this week are going to be pushing our hearts to open. With that opening, you will feel an emotional response. It's important that you work with this process and remember that you are not just processing and releasing and clearing your own stuff. You will also be processing and clearing that which sits in the collective, as well as ancestral stuff. So there's a lot of stuff to purge this. So be mindful of this, because you don't want to be triggered into drama. You don't want to be triggered into some kind of chaotic experience based on the emotions that are surfacing. Rather, observe the emotions, feel the emotions, but allow them to pass through you, to move through you. Step into the flow of those emotions rather than trying to analyze them or work them out or figure out why they're here or where they come from. At this time, it's not important that we know where things are coming from. What is important is that we allow for the healing and the release to happen. The other thing, as our hearts are opened, we will be urged to shift our thinking and our mindset from a scarcity focus to an abundance focus. So as much as these times are challenging and difficult and chaotic, they do hold a wealth of opportunity for us. But we need to be able to be present in the moment, to be able to see where those opportunities lie and the direction that they will take us in if we choose to activate them. On an unconscious level, you will find that your thinking is highlighted with regards to where you are still keeping your thoughts, or your programming is still stuck in scarcity. Because we are living in an abundant world. There is an abundant universe that exists for us. The way that we manifest is now becoming easier and easier. I spoke about it a couple of weeks ago about the figure of 8, or the egg timer type shape, where you can pull in everything that you want to be able to manifest. And it's time to start playing with those things. We've also become quite serious in the last few years around what's happened in the world and where the world is going and who's doing what and how this is going to impact us. But actually, we also starting to need to start to feel playful in this energy, to start to work with it from an excited point of view, not a doom and gloom point of view, which is important if we are able to move forward and manifest good things for us. Just seeing there's some comments here, but that's okay. No questions, so that's okay. So the focus as well is on, where in your mind are you still stuck in that scarcity thinking, and how can you shift out of that and move into a more balanced space. So when we connect with our hearts, when we feel into the cave of our heart where our soul sits, we have all the faith, all the trust, all the belief, and everything that we need to be able to move forward, believing that what we are stepping into is going to be beautiful and amazing and incredible. But if we stay stuck in our heads and with the programming or thinking of scarcity, we're going to, that is all we're going to start to see in the world. And we need to shift that. We need to come from a more hopeful point of view rather than a more negative point of view. One of the things for this week as well that is coming through quite clearly is the need to go within. So to connect with yourself, your inner world, to be able to manage yourself from an energetic perspective. So with these energies that are coming in, we can feel triggered, we can feel ungrounded, as I said earlier. We can feel quite spacey and we can feel quite unfocused. But when we tap into our inner world, when we start feeling into that energy and start expanding that energy into our body and being, we're able to be a lot more focused, and we're able to actually do what it is that we need to be doing at this time. I don't know about any of you, but I often struggle to sit in meditation and to be still and to be quiet, because my mind starts thinking, oh, you know, the grocery list that I have to put together, and the dinner that I need to cook, and the things that I've forgotten suddenly pop up into my thinking. So it is important that you find some way of being able to access that point of stillness. So for me, I use guided meditations, I use mantras, and I use breath work. Those are the three things that I find work for me to be able to get me into that space of stillness, so that my mind is not taking over or taking control. So there is this need to find some sort of practice that is going to support you this week, particularly. Because also when you are able to sit into that space of stillness, your meditation doesn't just have the benefits of quietening the mind or creating a space of stillness and quiet. What it actually also does is it allows your body to work on an energetic level to bring balance. So if you are out of balance energetically, just by doing a 15-20 minute meditation, you can actually bring yourself back into balance from an energetic point. So if you find that you're feeling emotionally triggered by things, or your thoughts are going into the negative, my advice would be to do some form of meditation that can bring you back, because that is key at this time. We need to be focused. Can't have our emotions taking control or our mind taking control. We need to be still in that place of alignment with our soul and with our heart. So when on an emotional level, if you can find the time to sit for 15 minutes, that's all it takes. And I'm not even saying do it every day, but if you can do it every day, fantastic. You will also enable what's coming through on an emotional level to be cleared and released through you. So if there's a wave of collective energy that is moving through you and you're feeling impacted by this, allow yourself to sit with it and allow it to be shifted within you, and allow your energetic body, which has its own innate intelligence, to do what it needs to do. I'm certainly finding that every day I'm having to do something. I normally do it at the end of the day, do something to just release and to clear the energies of that particular day. But, you know, working with clients as well as being out in the world, we do collect things. We do collect energies as well as what is being heightened within us. So it is important that you do something if you can, every day to work with that. And if you belong to the community aspect of my website, there is a clearing meditation on there, which I will share with the community group again, just a reminder of that meditation exists, and it is focused on clearing negative energy. So it is important that we do those kinds of meditations.
Okay, can I jump in and ask a quick question? I've been really conscious of that, and this week I've been doing the meditation. As you say, I've had endless energy and got lots done. I mean, it's been quite an up and down, but the only time I get to do it is just before I'm going to bed, but usually it's 1 a.m. because I'm just got so much to do and I'm doing it. But I'll find myself going to sleep halfway through the meditation and then waking up. And my big sudden worry is, oh my God, have I got halfway through it and I've actually done more damage than good? Or is it something that subconsciously I just be picking up if I'm hearing your voice in the background. So it was a silly question, but I never know if it's good or bad if you do actually fall asleep and you suddenly think, you wake up and you think, where am I? You know.
Look, I think that, ideally you want to be awake for the entire process. So maybe try sitting up instead of lying down. That's always a key for me. But often what happens on a subconscious level, you are hearing the words, you are following the process. So there is some process that is happening. As long as you're coming out of it and you're not staying stuck there. That's important. And if that does happen, make sure that when you come out of that little sleep, make sure that you ground yourself, drink some water, just really bring yourself back into the present moment. Often when we disappear in meditation, it is because we're traveling somewhere to gain some insight or some wisdom or even just some rest. And maybe that's just what your body is needing at the moment.
Well, I must admit, afterwards, I sleep incredibly well. I mean, I don't sleep at all well. And actually, I've been doing sort of 5-hour chunks of sleep afterwards, which is unheard of. So it must be doing some good. I was just concerned, as you say, leaving it open, because as you know, I get people in the night come and attack me if I'm exposed to it. So that's the sort of thing I was terrified of. So, okay. I'll ground myself afterwards.
Just make sure that you ground yourself and you kind of bring yourself, all of you, back here. Anyone else got any questions or anything they'd like to share about their week or what they've been going?
I had some thoughts that are coming through. When you said about the fires on the mountain, and you said there's a big wind behind the fire, right? So this is, if you look at the astrology for April, this is really a living expression of the energy. It's air-fueled fire. So it's traveling really, really fast. And what I've found, I mean, I've loved it personally. It's felt like rocket fuel. And I've initiated 8 projects in 10 days, 8 new projects in 10 days, because I'm not coming down. I know this is going tomorrow and I'm making the most of it. And what I've experienced with it is, the energy is a new paradigm for a start. So it's different and it's fast and it's exciting and it's exhilarating, and it really, really does its job. I mean, energy is always known, but it's really knowing its job. So what I was getting when I was listening to you about that was, because, as you were saying, lots of people are sitting back and going, so that energy's got to go somewhere. If we're not expending it, what do we expect? It's going to go somewhere. And all I can say is get out and do it, because it's really helpful. It's really supportive. And, the other stuff about getting out there, I got a lot of downloads from my guides. I was sitting in March with big, big dilemmas that felt very life-destroying. And over Easter, they just said, yeah, okay, done. That's it. Put them down. Don't pick them back up. They're done now. Here's what you need to do. And they just have totally rebirthed me. I feel completely different. I shedded a lot of grief over Easter, but I feel completely rebirthed, resurrected. And they've given me like a plan for 3 years. I mean, literally a plan for 3 years. So I've started this month. So I've got my gold badge. Yeah, good girl. And I know that the energy is going to change tomorrow, because we go into Taurus, right? So Sun and Moon in Taurus, it's calming down, and we're not going to have that rocket fuel that we did have. But now we've got the chance, the next 4 weeks, we've got the chance to really build on what was ignited. And the last thing that I would say is, for me, that because I'm not getting sleep, I mean, I probably continuous sleep, I'll get about 2 hours a night, and then after that I'm awake and I'm watching and and they just keep saying to me, sleep is overrated. You don't need as much sleep anymore. because the energies that are coming in are so much higher. You don't need 5 hours a night. You don't, just get that, put that down as well, because you're trying to tell yourself that you're trying to spellcast yourself into something that is no longer real. So that's what I'm experiencing. But it'll all change tomorrow. It'll be much more sedate. We'll have to build for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, tomorrow the foundation is laid and the building starts.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see what, because if you're looking at 4 cornerstones for each project, it's a lot of projects. But again, when they first gave me all of this plan, I kept saying to them, there's only one of me, and what came back was trust, and that takes the pressure off you. And I was like, oh yes, thank you. Okay. And I haven't felt the pressure since.
Good. Because
I was very relieved to hear that with that energy that can come in of trust, it's like you say, okay, I've registered, but I'm giving it all back to you. You control it. So it helps.
And also the fact that it's a 3-year plan, you're not having to do it all tomorrow and have it done by next week.
Yeah. I started, but I've started and they said the stations are 2 months, 13 months, and then 2 years, and then 3 years. So there's 4 stations. So yeah, good.
Oh, fantastic.
New paradigm, man, it rocks.
I look forward to hearing about what they are.
Hey, Kate, can you talk a little bit about the Luna Joy predictions? The 4 days, we ended that Friday, and then we've got the next 4 days, and how that's impacting the energies this week.
So the next 8 days that we're working towards, I think from today until the 21st, we are working, the energy is going to be impacting the throat and the solar plexus. So those are the 2 areas in the body. So those areas are about expression and self-expression in the world. So there is a need for us to look at how do we express ourselves in the world? How are we utilizing our own power, our own energy force in the world? And how do we express? So the throat often we often get a little confused about the throat, because it's not necessarily about verbally communicating or verbally expressing, but it is about expression of some sort. And if we remember that we are here as soul beings to bring something into the world, to birth something new into the world, we need to express that. So how do we express it? What are the channels that we use to express ourselves and our unique individuality into the world? So the solar plexus is also about that, about being the individual. Who are you on an individual level? What is the energy that you carry? What is the power that you carry? And what piece of the puzzle do you bring to the picture of the new world? So that's all going to be activated from today to the 21st. And then from the 21st to the 27th, so it's 4-day cycles, that energy is going to be targeting the heart. It's going to be an expansion and an opening of the heart, and it's about balancing that power and that need to express with what the heart is guiding us to do. So if we remember that the heart is the space where the soul sits, we will be guided to activate through our hearts our self-expression and our energy and our power. Does that answer the question, Roy? Wait, we can't hear you. You asked Joan. No, can't hear you. Start again.
There we go. Try it again. I said the last week when you told us about, the energies coming in and connected us to the Luna Joy, that was so helpful for me to just be prepared for it. So I think it hit Wednesday. So I just wanted to share too. I guess it was Monday night. I did a little surrender, because you work on these things, and someone and I think you've said this too, Kate, but we're like an onion trying to get to our soul. And so we're constantly peeling layers, and you peel, and you think, oh, I'm there. But then you find more and you get triggered. So I did a little of that Monday night, and it made such a difference. And wow, when it hit, I was just, like a rocket, and was really, in a great space, had some incredible alignments that I've been working towards. So I wanted to make sure this week I'm ready for whatever it is. So that's great feedback. Oh, and I want to add too, in terms of the meditation part, I think for quite a while I get up early and I do my yoga, and then I meditate. And I kind of needed for a long time that yoga to get me into the place where I could sit still and meditate. And all of a sudden, when it hit Wednesday, I really had the craving to just meditate first, right when I got up, and then do, yoga and my, manifestations, all those things after that. And what I found is that when I wake up, I can't wait to do that. So I think what you were talking about today, what connected is that experience of going inside. It became not just something that I needed to do, but something that I wanted to do. And I couldn't wait to tap in and say, hey, what do I need to know today? And how am I doing, and feeling that. So anyway, so I reversed it. So maybe just reversing something or doing the things in a different order or a different time of day can make a difference.
Well, I think that's also quite relevant to where we are and moving forward, because we do tend to be creatures of habit, so we do the same thing in the same way every single day. And we are being asked to shake that up and to not to do the same things that we've done in the past. They've worked obviously in the past, but we're now being asked to shake our routines up and do things differently. So the fact that you're shifting your morning practice is exactly what is required. And just that small shift brings quite a dramatic change. So it doesn't need to be the massive things that we change. It can just be the little things. I mean, what I'm trying to do now is I always used to meditate at night, and I'm now actually trying to meditate in the morning to see, to try and do something different and start my day. I've always, I had to tell people I'm not a morning person, but as Elizabeth Rose says, we don't need that much sleep anymore. And I've definitely noticed that. So I can't use that I'm tired and I haven't had enough sleep as an excuse for not getting onto my mat and doing some meditation. So I'm starting to shift that idea that I have had of myself of not being a morning person and say, well, maybe I can be a morning person.
I'm glad you've said that, Kate, because I've been waking up early, having had my 5-hour chunk, and like you, Elizabeth Rose, I'm so on it, like rocket fuel at the moment. I'm terrified now you say it's all going to stop tomorrow, because I'm there. But I've done my 5 hours sleep and I've woken up at 6:30, and usually I'd lie there thinking, oh God, I haven't got to get up till 8, I'll have another hour or whatever. And then in my head, I've been thinking, if Kate can get up earlier in the morning, who's not a morning person, I can get out of bed, which has been it's been my driving force. And I wanted to check that you had actually started to do this, because you've talked about it. And I thought, has she actually done it? And it's amazing, by having that extra hour in the morning, I've realized how much more I've got done. I mean, for me, this big focus this week is life-work balance, and how critical it is. And actually, I'm either in work mode, and then I get my deadline done, I stop, and then I get into life mode until the next thing comes in, and then I go straight into work mode. And unfortunately, because I work full time, mostly I'm in the work mode. But I'm not sure actually, and I have to thank Gail if she's on here. She gave me a recommendation of a supplement for anti-stress, and I've been taking it. And, today I actually been lying in the sun all day. I should have been working, and I felt no guilt whatsoever, and it was absolutely fine. But I got up so early this morning that I did other things that I suddenly justified it. But anyway, the point is that I am getting up earlier thinking my story has always been I'm not an early bird. But if you can do it, I can do it. So I'm glad you followed through on that one.
I've actually surprised myself. I've gotten up early. I've made myself a cup of tea. I've gone and sat outside and watched the birds and waited for the sun to come up, and really enjoyed that time. Even though I've got to take my daughter to school, I've given myself probably 20 to 30 minutes just to appreciate the start of the day.
I think this morning I went for a walk in, and Jennifer, you made me laugh with your hens the other day. I did actually go to Hyde Park this morning again. Absolutely beautiful. But because I went early, there was nobody else out. All the sort of children and the mothers and the bits hadn't really got out. And it was absolutely stunning and so restful, and so glad I did it. And then I was thinking, gosh, if everybody knew how lovely it is first thing in the morning, they'd all be doing it. And then there's a little part of me thinking, I'm so glad they don't. And they've all been these sort of later morning people, because then it now leaves me with this new experience that I can enjoy on my own. Very selfish, but rather thrilling. It was great. So I'll do it again. Anyway.
That's definitely inspiring me. I have to say, this week I've had kind of the opposite experience. I have needed so much sleep. I've been sleeping. I mean, I've just been knocked out. And when I wake up, I don't feel rested. And so for me, that's been a signal to just lie with it. And I see that, Elizabeth, Rose, you said that opening your eyes in the morning takes a long time. Totally. I mean, I have to just lie there and go deep within. So you all are talking about the rocket fuel. I have not felt the rocket fuel. I hope I didn't miss it.
Jennifer, I find that the opening of the eyes, I mean, no matter what sleep I've had, because about once every 2 weeks I will have 5 hours at the moment. So, but no matter what sleep I'm having, the opening of the eyes is really, and I've asked them, what's that about? Because that's crazy, right? They're glued, you know what I mean? And they're saying it's when we are in sleep, what we're doing, the maneuvers, we're either going and healing people on the planet, or we're going and doing something ourselves, that kind of thing. So I think it's how we're helping the collective or ourselves with deep processing work. I think, Kate, would you say that's right?
I agree. I mean, I think for me, I normally have very disruptive sleep. So I'll go to sleep, 45 minutes later, I'm awake. And then I toss and turn a few hours, I go to sleep, and then I'm awake at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. Then I toss and turn again and refuse to get out of bed until my alarm goes off. So for me, what's been happening is I'm a bit like you, Fiona. I'm going to bed, closing my eyes, and I'm waking up in the morning and I'm going, well, this is a miracle because this hasn't happened in years. So I'm getting that chunk of sleep. And I think in that time, as a result of it, there's a lot of processing that's going on. And I also think that we need to be mindful of where we are in the world. So I know that there's been an incredible amount of stuff that has happened in the United States over this last week. And, some pretty traumatic and horrific events have happened. And there's a lot of conflict in the collective, especially where you guys are living. And so I can imagine that in that sleep time, you are doing the work to try and alleviate. And I've just gone completely cold while I'm speaking. So this is definitely what you guys are doing. You're definitely doing work to alleviate that energy and obviously bringing some kind of healing to the spaces that are in need of it. And, certainly where I live at the moment, certainly besides the fire, it's pretty calm and stable, and there's not too many dramatic things happening. So it is important that we are mindful of that. And this is a message that for me has been coming through quite strongly in the last few months about how we actually need to start becoming conscious and aware of how connected we are collectively, that it isn't just about us, that there's an entire planet that we exist on, and we are intimately connected to the planet. We are intimately connected to each other through this collective consciousness. And it's not just a human consciousness, it's a planetary consciousness. And the more we become aware of that connection that we have to that planetary consciousness, the more we can understand that the impact of things that happen, whether they are an earthly event, like a volcano erupting or an earthquake, or something traumatic that happens to people, we will feel that. We will feel that within ourselves, and often we can confuse it with thinking that it's ours. And I certainly did that for many years until I started realizing that what I was picking up was collective pain or collective heartache or collective trauma or collective confusion, or just some movement that was happening in the collective. And when we are aware of it, I almost feel like just that awareness can help us to shift the energy within ourselves, so we don't hold on to it because it's not ours, but we process it and we release it, and in that way we enable the healing that is required within the collective. But if we hold it, we're keeping it existing within the collective. So it is important that you have a look at where you are in the world, what is happening in your environment, what is happening in your communities, so that you can actually get an understanding of what is happening to you too, because it is impacting you whether you're aware of it or not. And we discussed this last week with those of you who are in the UK, and the death of Prince Philip and how that has impacted everyone. And I know his funeral was yesterday. So, you know, there is some kind of movement that is even happening in your environment. And, you know, whether you like the royal family or not and believe that they are lizards or dark forces or whatever it is that has been spoken about them is immaterial. You know, people have been attached to the royal family. They feel empathy for the loss of a father and a grandfather and a husband, and so we are processing that too.
Kate, I just wanted to pop in here and say, in relation to what Lorraine was saying, that things that you thought you'd processed like an onion were coming up again, and what you're saying now, if you're feeling the collective trauma and you are still carrying some of your own, is that going to be why it is more intense?
Yeah.
And through processing that and your own, are you okay?
Yeah, so the I mean, let's use grief as an example. So if you are carrying unresolved grief within yourself, and I mean, no one wants to feel grief. No one wants to actually live within a state of grief all the time, but we do need to feel that grief. We need to allow ourselves to feel it in order to lessen the impact that it has on us. So if there's unresolved grief or grief that you've held onto and haven't been able to process, and an event happens in the world that causes other people to feel grief, that grief within you will be triggered. And as you work through it, as you release it, as you feel it, so you are doing that for the collective as well. And you know, there is an incredible amount of pain that exists in our world. You know, for those of you who are empaths and feel deeply, you know, there are times when we feel that pain of the world in a really incredibly intense way, and it can be exhausting.
Yeah, Kate, I would just love to add that this week, you know, for other people who may be based US side, like I've just had waves of crying hit me. Just like intense feelings of sadness and pain and suffering that I now realize probably I like Megan saying sort of, you know, brings up some of my stuff. So I see where it's sort of alive in me, but I feel it like a live wire, you know, it's almost like touching electricity. It just like shoots through me every now and then. And I think it's just there's so much in the air happening around us, right? Our neighbors who are reading the news and everybody in sort of taking the stuff in and then feeling their feelings. And me too, I've also been struggling to wake up. Not so much go to sleep, but waking up. Like I'll get up to practice, but I'll like need almost like a nap afterwards or something. Like it still sits on me quite heavily into the day. So yeah, I just wanted to say that I too have been feeling that.
I thank you, Jennifer, and the rest, because no rocket fuel here. I get up and I'll do a project because I've been off for, whatever, the last week. And then I sit down, and it's like I don't even want to interact with people. I'm not watching the news, only like escape stuff, like Hallmark movies, reading a book. Even the people like my sisters, who I usually talk to once or twice a day, there's been days I haven't even talked to them, which is very unusual. But energetically just exhausted. Sleep hasn't been a problem just because I don't have to get up, and somehow that enables me to go back to sleep. But I don't know, like I said, I just find, but it's an interesting, thank you, because the whole idea there is a lot of sadness, but I'm not watching it, which, as you all know, I was glued to the TV for months. Now I can't even make it through a news, a half-hour news forecast, because I just don't want it, I don't want to hear it. I can't process it. I can't, whatever. So like I said, I would love a good rocket fuel, but that's not been, my experience at all. And of course, I got some things done, never get as much done as you think you're going to get done. But like I said, I was like a mile or two from a really good friend of mine the other day. I just needed to get out of the house and take a ride, and I couldn't even bring myself to swing by and say hello, because I'm like, yeah, don't want to hear anybody else's stuff. So I'm kind of hoping and a lot of stuff from the past popping up, though I don't dwell on that stuff anymore. I don't know. Anyway, it's been don't get me wrong, been a very pleasant week to have nothing I needed to do all week. But just like I said, I envy anybody who has rocket fuel, because that's, I can't stay awake. I sit down in the chair to read a book and I'll doze off. Try to do a meditation, I doze off, and whatever. So, but good to see everybody.
But interestingly, Nancy, when you talk about sadness, obviously with the Prince Philip yesterday, I have had this rocket fuel, which has been fantastic. But it was odd that I stopped for the funeral, and I did watch 3 hours of it, and it wasn't like I was sitting in a morbid state. It was a really reflective, beautiful service that was so full of dignity and everything. I mean, the weather could not have been more perfect. You've got, as far as the UK being represented around the world, you have Windsor Castle in glorious blue sunshine. You've got all the pageantry, you've got everything else. So it was an incredible show of everything. And then obviously we've got the unity between the two princes and everybody gossiping about that. But there was such a beautiful feeling about it. I didn't feel any sadness. The only thing was the sense of compassion for the Queen, who's sitting there after 73 years, with her head bowed down and everything. But again, even that was so dignified. It wasn't, there wasn't something sad about it. I don't know how to explain it, but it forced me to come off my sort of rocket ride to sort of sit and reflect. And I came away from it feeling much calmer rather than a sadness. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So
I watched the whole thing too.
Oh, did you?
It was absolutely beautiful and very, obviously I didn't know them, but it seemed very representative of who he was. And I thought it was very dignified.
I think
And
that's the thing. People never really understood how much he did and how much he achieved. You know, he was one of those sort of silent currents that just moved and did so much. And it's now, and also didn't like compliments. So it's all coming to light now what he really did. But it was, yeah, I mean, an incredible man. But slightly what you were saying, you know, the fact that the funeral was yesterday, I thought, Kate, yesterday was the day that everything shifted in the Mayan calendar thing, of where it was almost like putting to rest something nostalgic and thoughtful and mindful, to sort of start again today. I just thought it was quite poignant. It was on that day as well. Obviously not planned, but whether it was on his side, but yeah, it was, the whole thing was it could not have been better, I think, from a point of view of saying goodbye and just feeling, yeah, something noble had happened.
And Matthew, I too found myself at times with tears coming down over, I'm not even sure what sometimes. I think one of the times was an ad or something on TV. It was, I mean, so I had no foresight on what would trigger it. And it wasn't like I sat and sobbed, but I found myself with tears coming down. And I'm like, okay, whatever that's about. That was an ad on TV, you know. Oh.
Well, and Nancy, I mean, I felt a little like you. I mean, I've had moments of rocket fuel, but mostly I've felt this week to be very internal. I've been very focused on tasks and things that I'm doing, but I also haven't wanted to be around people, haven't really wanted to engage. I haven't really felt, you know, it's felt a bit like I'm deeply inside me, and I don't really want to be drawn out of that space. I don't necessarily understand what's happening, and yeah, it's I felt like I've just needed space around me with not too many interruptions.
Well, people were feeling sad. I had anger and found myself in the vegetable patch yelling very loudly. And the next door neighbor said, "You're scaring the brinjals." I said, "Sorry," and I moved off.
Oh dear, you better go and apologize to the brinjals.
I had spurts of anger too, but over the stupidest things, you know, like dropping something or, you know, whatever. It was bizarre. And I'd be like, but then I, of course, took the opportunity to swear my head off and then went, okay, I'm good now.
Yeah, very inappropriate anger for whatever event it was. It was just out of line with, you know, what was annoying you. So, yeah.
Well, I found things that I should have got angry about. I haven't, which has been pretty weird. I have a resident mouse that I told the dog that he needed to get rid of it. So he pretended for a while that he was going to do so. But I think he actually made friends with the thing. And it is now made a nest in the back of my fridge and eaten through the pipe. The fridge is no longer working. So I'm now at war with a mouse. And bizarrely enough, I just thought, oh, well, you know, the fridge is broken. Need to get it fixed or get a new one, which is very unlike me. Normally there would have been a few swear words and a lot of shouting at the mouse, but I just couldn't be bothered.
That's so funny, Kate. I having had my mouse issue for God knows how long and having got rid of it, I do hope I haven't passed it on. But it was one of those things where you said to me, seeing a mouse or something actually is representative of something. And isn't the mouse the unresolved? There's something unresolved that needs fixing.
Something that needs attention. Yes.
Yeah. But I think chewing through your pipework is not kind.
No, it's not.
Clearly, you need a new fridge, Kate.
Yeah, I think I need a new fridge. Anyway, the dog's friend needs to leave. I like that. Maybe Elizabeth has written, maybe anger is a clearing expression of the rocket fuel. Could be. Yeah.
I think the difference is you just get less done in the process and upset people, obviously, in a vegetable patch. But I mean, I'm now going back on my rocket fuel. I've definitely felt focused, like you were saying, Kate, because I've come to conclusions of what things I need to change. I've still got to actually action it and do it. But at least having the desire, and also I think, I can't remember who you were saying earlier, you know, the desire to actually meditate, to look forward to going into it rather than, oh gosh, I really ought to do it because I should. Yeah, no, it's been a, had the one grumpy day. Thank you for everybody's messages on my grumpy day. That's very good. Made me feel better. But no, it's up and down, I suppose.
Yeah, it is at the moment. Be interesting to see how things shift from today and tomorrow with going into Taurus.
So tell us more about Taurus and what to expect from that.
Oh, well, I'll leave that up to Elizabeth to share. She's an expert on Taurus energy.
I should be. I've got 5 planets there. Okay, Taurus energy is very slow, steady, stable, and very thorough. And actually, if you direct it to work, it is so happy. That work can be anything that you see that needs to be done. It's going to be a sea change of pace between the last couple of weeks and the next 4 weeks. So you may well be able to acclimatize to it in a more normal fashion. But again, it knows that its job is to build. So it takes whatever, you know, the rocket fuel energy is the Aries download, and everybody's got Aries in their chart, which means everybody's got an Aries portal in their psyche. So everybody will have gotten the rocket fuel. It just depends how you're processing it and how you're expressing it. And there's, you know, 7.8 billion different ways to do that. So you did get your rocket fuel. It's just, it maybe went into your subconscious to germinate, to come out during Taurus, because Taurus is about getting out there, doing the good work and building, and it loves it. The other thing about Taurus energy, and I've noticed this a lot personally over the years, if you tell a Taurian something can't be done, a Taurian will go, oh, it can't be done. Whereas, you know, maybe an Aquarian will go, ha, we'll see about that. Or Aquarius rising or Aquarius moon will go, I'm going to rise to that challenge. No, Taurus won't. Taurus will go, But if you say to a Taurian, you know, that's the hard work that nobody else can do, Taurus then comes in to the rescue, and that hook goes right in there, and then it does the job. It's also very, very loving. So you'll feel a lot, and Venus is there at the moment in her exaltation. So you will feel so much love coming through now, which is again another sea change from Aries, because Aries is tough love. It's like, do it or do it or don't. You know, what do you got? It's really spitty, it's fiery. Taurus, it's very loving, very comforting. It'll go the extra mile. Your friend, you know, it's all very social and very cuddly. And finally, you will progress the rocket fuel that, you know, download an initiation that you received. You will get the chance to progress it in some way, which will feel, I think, is a great comfort to most people. So that's what I would say about it.
So Elizabeth, that's interesting, because when you say about the softness and the side of the caring side, I've definitely felt, you know, in the last few days or from today, a sort of softness in relationships, whether it be with my niece or with whoever it is. There's a sort of, the intolerance of trying to get something right has actually come into a sort of calm warmth, which surprised me. So, and maybe that's why I'm feeling calmer, because I'm feeling more loving, which is quite a sea change for me. And so that would be from today.
Yeah, totally.
How long is that going to last? Hopefully a long time.
For 4 weeks, and then we get something else to work with. So every season, every month, we've got a new season. And, you know, on the note of Philip, all I can say is that if people think that the royal family don't work with astrologers, I'm pretty convinced that they do. You know, his his death wasn't, whether his death happened on the 9th or whether they took some time for the Queen to acclimatise before the announcement, who knows. But, you know, he may have gone over Easter, for example, because that's a big transition time for the planet. But that he was, his passing was announced on the 9th of April. On the 9th of April, the astrology was Saturn and Chiron conjunct Sun and Moon in Aries. So Sun, Moon, man, woman, king, queen. Chiron conjunct, so coming into the little square, biggest wound. And Saturn, new order in the establishment. All on the day that it was announced. And then the funeral yesterday, just as this Taurus energy is coming in. So that whole fire thing done, you know, that kind of ended, I would say when the Mayan stuff came in, there was the handover. So really from the 14th, there was the break started to apply, but then by yesterday, you could really feel it. And look how wonderful it was yesterday, you know, and I'm sure, did you see that there were 3 lions in the clouds above Winslow, above the chapel? So, you know, come on now. And also, I think, I looked at Philip's chart and, oh my God, his birth chart is off the scale. I mean, he must have been doing so much karma in this lifetime. I think he was probably one of the most complex people I've ever looked at the chart of, and I felt real compassion for him. And when I saw the Land Rover, I don't know about you, Fiona, but the Land Rover just filled me with so much joy. And for everybody that had a funeral in lockdown, and, you know, I was one, my dad passed. I mean, we had a wonderful funeral for my dad, but it was still quite a deal to have a funeral in COVID and lockdown. And it's almost like Philip's funeral brought all of that to an end. I felt a real closure and completion.
I felt that too. I actually felt that too. Amazing. Thank you for sharing. That's given us some good insight for the next 4 weeks and what we can work with. And I must say, I did feel quite a shift yesterday. I mean, I did wake up early this morning, Fiona, and I did go and sit outside and have my cup of tea. And then about an hour and a half later, I think I decided that I needed a nap, and I went back to bed and I woke up 4 hours later. So that was quite a nap. And I actually could have closed my eyes and continued, but I forced myself up.
Well, I did sunbathe for 2 hours on the terrace today and kind of dozed off. So yeah, similar thing, but was up and out there this morning, which is good.
Good. All right. Any other questions? Anything else anyone has to share before we get into some meditating? Okay, good. All right. So find yourself a comfy spot. And when you're ready, just allow yourself to settle in, closing your eyes. And draw your awareness into your breath. And just allow yourself to become aware of the in-breath and the out-breath. And as you exhale, just allow yourself to settle it deeper into this moment, allowing your body to relax. Allow yourself to let go of any tension, any pressure. And just give yourself permission to be still. Be really present. And just feeling yourself sinking deeper into your body. And now draw your awareness to the top of your head, to your crown. And just become aware of the flow of energy, of divine universal energies that is moving into your body and being through this point. And as you follow the flow of this energy, just become aware of any areas in your body or being where there might be blocks, resistance, or stagnation. Taking a moment to focus particularly on the throat and the solar plexus. Those 2 points that will be impacted by the energies of the next 3 days. And allow the energy to settle into a perfect flow. Allowing your body to settle into perfect balance. Allow yourself to feel into your shoulders, making sure that they are aligned, and adjusting them if one or the other is out of balance. Now moving your awareness down to your hips. Becoming aware of their alignment. Allow them to be adjusted if one or the other is out of balance. And now dropping your awareness down to your heart center in the middle of your chest. And allow yourself to feel into this space. And in your mind's eye, see yourself standing before the opening to the cave. This is the cave of your heart. Just notice the entrance, what is around it. And when you're ready, allow yourself to step into the cave. Take a moment to allow your eyes to adjust. And when you're ready, allow yourself to explore this cave. Observe the walls and the floors. Is there anyone in the cave with you? Just take a moment to explore this space. And now when you're ready, make your way out of the cave. Step out into the light of the sun, feeling its warmth on your face, feeling the earth beneath your feet. Connect with your physical form. Allow yourself to anchor into your body. Keeping your heart open. Take a few deep breaths. And when you're ready, move your fingers and your toes and open your eyes. Well, thank you, everyone. It was interesting, the shoulder and hip alignment. It was very clear that we can monitor how in balance we are by just focusing on our shoulders and our hips and seeing, whether one shoulder is doing that or pulling back. So really enable your body to show you where you are out of balance or what needs to be brought into balance. And I hope you got some good insights when you entered into the cave.
Okay, can I ask one question? I'm never quite sure when I go into the meditations and I see things, whether I should be forcing things to change or just let it be. I mean, I know when I did the soul thing and went into the cave and there was lots of black water and luckily it all raised and bats flew off and it was crystal clear and I got the choice of light and dark. When I went into this cave, there were just endless rivers of blood inside it. And I wasn't sure. I took a diamond and I tried to fill the hole, weirdly enough, and it forced it out and it allowed it to flow. And I suddenly wasn't sure whether it was a good or a bad, of whether I should be allowing, is that a flow of energy or is that something that is a bleeding heart, something that's losing energy? I just wasn't quite sure how to interpret it.
For me, that feels like a positive thing. I know when we see blood, we automatically head for there's something wrong. But blood is our life force within the physical body. Without blood, the heart doesn't work. Nothing works. So it could be that there's a good flow of life force energy. And red is the color of action. Yes, it can be also the color of anger, but it is the color of action. So I'm not seeing that as a positive thing. I mean, I'm not seeing that as a negative thing, especially if you're trying to shove a diamond in there and it shot it out. It's definitely needing to flow. So don't mess with the flow. Maybe that's what the message is. Don't mess with the flow. Just let things flow. Don't try and control it. I think it's a good message. Interestingly enough, I had water in my cave as well, except it was thankfully not black, but it was interesting. Anyone
I
else
had
have
a
any-
parade of relationships from the past. I popped out of the cave once or twice. And then I went back in and I'm like, really, we just want a parade? Those kind of romantic relationships, or more accurately, failed romantic relationships. I'm like, oh, well, thank you for sharing.
But I'm out of here.
I was going to say, Nancy, a parade's quite impressive. Come through your cave.
Well, when you're old, you collect these things.
We want to hear more later, Nancy. More.
Let's just say there's a lot of things in life I've been successful at, and that is not one of them. But looking at the first one to pop in was like, really, we want to do a return on this. And then, like I said, there was like this series of, I'm like, well, thank you for showing me. And then in the end, it was, I'm like, what's the point? And you know, to just acknowledge a wounded heart and not dwell in it, just acknowledge it as part of your life experience, I guess. So
I also love what Elizabeth has written for you, Nancy. Maybe they still love you because you are very lovable.
Yes.
Fiona, as far as I'm concerned, I had a bat that wouldn't hang upside down in my cave. And then I said, it's my cave and bats are supposed to hang upside down. Now, will you turn around, please? And it did. So, yeah, it's my cave. I can tell it whether it must hang this way around or the other way around. So, yeah.
Oh, dear. Vegan. You know, the bat is
it's a bat and a brinjal. There's a lot of bees here.
You're trying.
I'll look up a bat later.
You're trying to control your rebirth.
Okay.
Oh,
it might take a couple of the characters who appeared over a bat, but that's just me.
You know. All right. Thank you, everyone. It's always such a great pleasure to see you all, and so wonderful that we can end off with some laughter. So thank you, all of you, for sharing. And I hope you all have a fantastic week. And yeah, enjoy the shifts in energy rather than being nervous about them. I think it's time that we start enjoying life, and that was certainly the message I was getting in the cave. It's like, it doesn't have to all be so serious. We do need to start having some fun, and get back to that that kind of childlike enthusiasm that we all had once upon a time. It's time to find it again. So thank you, and I look forward to connecting with you all next week.
Kate, I know you're going. Just a very quick question. I can't remember the name of the little animal that's on the top of the mountain in Cape Town that's very special to the area. It's like a little baby guinea pig type thing.
Oh yes, it's a Dassie.
Is it a Dassie? Is it? But they're only found, that is a very rare species, isn't it, on there? So
yeah,
fingers crossed.
Okay. Yeah, there are a lot of, yeah, they're Dassies, they are mongooses, lots of small animals that live on the mountains here. So yeah, I'm hoping, you know, they're quite clever. I'm hoping that they've all managed to find their way to safety, and there are a lot of mountains, so hopefully it'll just stay on that mountain.
That's why the mouse is in your fridge. It's worried about the fire on the mountain.
No, it's not. I caught the little bugger in my dishwasher, and at the time I called the dog. He sniffed the dishwasher, sniffed the mouse, and turned around and walked away. I should have closed the dishwasher and turned it on, but I didn't. I said to the mouse, "You've got to leave. This is not your house. There's an entire mountain behind us. Go and live there." And he ate my fridge.
My point exactly, Kate. The mountain's burning.
Well,
Yeah,
it's not. The mountain here is not burning, and this was long before the fire started.
Hey, I'm trying to remember a brilliant TV series years ago. I can't remember whether it was Tabitha. It was about the friendly little witch who used to twitch her nose, and she did everything for everybody else, but nothing for herself. And you've just suddenly got visions of you doing a real Tabitha moment where, you know, you've got full control of all of us, and then suddenly it comes to you and a mouse, and absolutely nothing is going according to plan.
Yeah.
I'm going to call you Tabitha from now on.
Yeah, this mouse is not listening to me. I've told him I'm going to put him in the dishwasher and turn it on. And then when he's knocked unconscious, then I'll toss him out into the mountain.
Kate, I have 2 cats and I've been chasing a mouse around all winter pretty much. And the cats like stare. I know he's under the stove, and my friend is like, just plant a trap and kill it. And I'm like, no, I can't.
I know, neither can I. That's the problem. I might have to. I'm going to see if I can get a humane trap that,
Yeah.
keeps them alive and doesn't kill them. And then
I don't let mine chew on the wires though.
I mean, he did very kindly push because there was a pipe that he just chewed into pieces. He pushed the pieces of the pipe out from underneath the fridge, so at least I could see. Yeah, I was like, oh, that doesn't look good. And then I opened the fridge and everything was not cold. And I was...
Nancy, you're going to have to spend some time with Kate, because obviously you've got a better trained mouse than she has. You'll have to give her the clues on how to train a mouse not to eat the wires.
Mine's a wild African mouse. That's the problem. It's not
Yeah.
a civil.
We keep tame mouse here in Boston.
Teach me your ways. All right. Well, I'll keep you posted on the mouse situation, but I'm now needing to get a new fridge. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you all next week. Have a brilliant week. Lots of love.
Thanks, Kate.
Bye. See you all
Bye,
soon.
everybody.